This program has been made possible in part by the following sponsors. KCM Wealth Management. The Vancouver Courier newspaper. It is said that change is the only constant, so why shouldn't that be true of, among other things, addictions? Even addictions are not static. People are finding new ways to ruin their lives, new chemicals and things to indulge in, and we're always seeking out new approaches to solve this most onerous of problems. Addictions are problems that affect every family and community, truly affect every segment of Canadian society. And we're delighted to have with us today a good friend, Lorinda Strang, who is the executive director of the Orchard Recovery Center on Bowen Island. Hi, Lorinda. Great to see you.
Good to see you, David.
Tell us a bit before we get into the details about it. Tell us a bit about the Orchard. It's been there about 20 years?
No, 10.
10?
Yeah, we just had our 10-year anniversary.
Get out.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just have the sense of it being around forever.
No, 10 years.
Good for you. And you've been running it for a long time.
I've evolved into running it, but
okay.
yes. So.
Yeah. And why? Why do you run it? Why do you do this?
Well, personally for me, I'm in recovery myself, and
okay.
I've been affected in my life through many people that I care deeply about have been affected by addiction, including my grandmother. And
truly?
My brother passed away from this disease.
Yeah.
And I've seen, in my family, I've seen a lot of success in recovery, and I've seen death. So I've seen both sides.
Yeah. So you love doing it?
I love it. I never get tired of it.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, somebody at the coffee counter at work the other day, one of the clients said, you must get fed up with dealing with a bunch of addicts every day.
Yeah.
And I said, from the heart, I never get tired of people who are trying to get well.
There is something truly beautiful and exciting about people who are working at their own recovery, isn't there?
It's an amazing transformation, and at the treatment center at the Orchard, we get to see the rapid change of when somebody comes in. They're often detoxing, so they're very sick, and so within 28 to 42 days, you physically see them return to health, and then the ongoing work is forever.
Yeah, it's very interesting for you to talk about them physically returning to health, because one of the features I know at the Orchard is that you've got a great cook, and you serve great food.
The food is fantastic.
And that's not an accident, is it?
No. Well, first of all, they have to want to keep doing this.
Yes.
So a lot of people will want to come in and get the drugs out of their system.
Yes.
The next step is wanting to stay that way. And so returning yourself to health, a lot of people when they come in haven't been taking very good care of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, often it turns out that a lot of addicts have never met a vegetable that they understood.
That's true, but on the other hand, you also, on the flip side of that, you'll see people that are smoking and smoking crystal meth who are, when they come in, they're like, I only eat organic food, and they're trying everything to be healthy,
except
to compensate for the drugs that they're using. So
that's hysterical. That's funny. That's funny. Speaking of, just a sidebar, but speaking of you talk about people detoxing, there is a character in rehab everywhere. I don't know what name we should give him or her, but the permanent detoxer, the guy or gal who detoxes, detoxes, relapse. What is that? Who is that person? You know, because we've all met that person, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, you do get people that they try, they want to get well, but when they come in, they're going to do it their way. They're not going to do it the way you're suggesting. So they quickly start to feel better, and then they want their life back right away. They want to go back to work and do whatever it is that they do.
Yes.
A lot of businessmen are like that. Yeah. And they want to get back into their life, and they're not willing at that point. Once they're willing when they come in, and then as soon as they start feeling better, they want to do it their way again.
Yeah, I'm not
often an executive.
I'm not a Bible person, but I think it's Ecclesiastes that says everything is vanity and vexation of spirit, right?
Yes.
So you've got a lot of, you always have the struggle in recovery with ego.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Your ego can kill you. Absolutely.
And does.
And does.
Yeah, I'm going to run the show. It's my thing. Leave me alone.
Yes. And a lot of the clients that we see are used to running their own show.
Yes.
And so if I say it's not working for you, you have to do something different. Here you go, get into the program, and they'll give lip service to it.
Do you remember vividly one or more instances in your own life when you gave it up, when you just went, oh, there's my ego, I have to let go?
Yes. And people who are in a 12-step program learn to do that.
Yes.
And it's taking your inventory and looking at what's your part, and accepting that and owning it, and apologizing when you need to. You have to let your ego go, and you have to. That's in the program we call that doing the work.
Yes. Yeah. Yesterday I was on an airplane, and I told you before we came on the air that I knocked a glass of Coke instantly all over my clothes, all over my pants, over the bare feet of the lady sitting next to me, and so on. I think some years ago, I would have gotten upset. But I'm almost 70, and I just looked at this and went, yeah, well, I did knock some Coke over,
Yes, exactly.
Right?
It's like, I'm not perfect.
That's right. Hello.
And I don't actually want to be perfect, so.
Yeah, because that's tiring.
Yes, it's exhausting.
It's tiresome. Okay, what do you see, if anything, what's new in addictions land? Let's start with addictions themselves. I mean, we read reports that people are onto all kinds of other fun things, that some of which didn't even exist a few years ago.
Well, prescription medication is the big. It's been here for a while.
Yes.
It's not brand new.
Yes.
But the fallout of it, first of all, you're using it, and whatever the drug is. Currently it's OxyContin.
Yes.
It takes a while for the fallout, and we're seeing it in masses. In masses. Yes.
What are you seeing?
Huge.
What are you seeing? Tons of kids, people.
A lot of younger people.
Yes.
So the trend right now in that we see in our treatment center at the Orchard is younger people. And we're also seeing older people as well, but it's, I guess, shocking to see how young the kids are that are hooked on, mostly it's OxyContin.
And OxyContin is a synthetic narcotic. It's a painkiller.
Yes.
But youngsters and others are, what are they doing? They're melting it down and shooting it?
They're crushing it up and shooting it and injecting it.
Yeah.
So there's two streams. There's the people that had an accident. They have legitimate pain, and they've gotten hooked onto it from that, and it's taken over their lives.
Sure.
And then it's also a party drug. So I talked to some of the young people, and it's like, were you in an accident? How did you get prescribed this? I didn't get prescribed it. I bought it on the street. So
somebody said this would be fun.
Pills of any kind.
Yes.
I don't think they particularly care what they're taking, but that's one of the ones that's out there.
Yeah, I've been told by I won't say who, but there's a huge trade on the street, particularly, I'm sorry to say, in the community of Surrey, of methadone as an illegal. People are getting it by prescription, but reselling it like crazy.
Yes. Yeah. We don't see that so much at the Orchard.
Okay.
But we see prescription medications of all kinds.
Really?
The Ativan and Valium, the benzodiazepines, and the opioids are the two that we see.
And I know you have a doctor is part of the Orchard, and you have a couple of nurses
yes,
as well?
Well, we have 3 doctors. Dr. Fay,
yes.
Dr. Reeb, and Dr. Durnan.
Okay.
And they are all certified with the American Society of Addiction Medicine.
Right. And they're not all living and working there 92 hours a day, but they're all available to you on quick call.
Yes, mainly Dr. Fay. He gets called all the time.
Is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he has quite a wonderful reputation.
Yes. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
We love him.
A dear friend of mine who's a very famous shrink thinks very highly of Dr. Fay.
Yes, he's seen everything.
Has he?
Yeah.
So he's got the ready response.
Yeah, I don't think we can shock him.
and you don't want to. What we just have a couple of minutes before our first break,
Okay.
our holy break. What kind of addict are you finding is the biggest challenge today?
I think that the young people have a big challenge. Because they're
immortal. They can't be harmed, right?
Yes, and they think that they can quit oxys, or often they've progressed to heroin.
Yes.
So
Congrats.
they think, so they think that they can detox and be free of the drug, what we call their drug of choice.
Yes.
That's their favorite drug. They may use other drugs as well, but and that then they can drink.
Oh, I see.
And that's a problem, and they don't want to give that up. So it's a whole lifestyle change.
Yes.
And so shifting their mindset, typically if they're younger, we like to see them stay for longer than the 42-day program.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that it's a whole lifestyle change, because so many people mistakenly think remove the drug and this issue is now resolved.
No, they're just at the beginning of the journey.
Because?
Because it's at the beginning it's difficult. I don't want to say that it's difficult all the way through, because the obsession will lift. Hopefully our job is to get you excited about being in recovery, and we're going to launch you into a 12-step program, and you're going to meet a whole circle of friends. You're going to do things clean and sober, and then hopefully you're not going to want to go back because you're enjoying your life. If you're not enjoying your life, the lure of going back to a drug of some kind is going to be there. So it's an ongoing.
Because the lifestyle involves a whole bunch of behaviors. Like if nobody lives in isolation, so especially a young person. Young person has a family, so they're going to lie, cheat, steal, right? They're not going to say where they were last night, right?
In the height of their addiction,
yes,
anything's possible.
Anything goes.
Yeah, so
and usually does.
And usually does. And what we do,
the furniture, the dog.
They need to get the drug, and so they do things. Well, that's what happens in your addiction. Like even in my recovery, you keep crossing a moral boundary. You keep doing things that you said you would never do. So with the drugs, I find that it's quicker. It brings them in quicker, and they do things that they said they would never do faster.
Yes.
And that's why we're seeing more young people. And I also think that there's been a good job in the media and in general of breaking down the stigma of addiction. And it's not, I think we're making some headway at that. It's not such a bad thing to go get help. And people are aware. They're aware that you can go get help.
Yes.
You know, interventions and all that.
I want to talk about interventions in a minute. This is interesting.
So,
okay, we'll take a little break. Our guest, Lorinda Strang, the Executive Director of the Orchard Treatment Center over on Bowen. I'll just take a moment to say that if you have any thoughts you want to share with us about anything, or preferably if you know the winning lotto number, send it to davidbernard.com. And we'll just take a moment also to recognize these lovely folks who help us bring this program to you here on Shaw Community Television Cable 4. Back in a moment. KCM Wealth Management. The Vancouver Courier newspaper. talking about addictions. As you know, folks, if you watch this program enough, I'm addicted to addictions. It's one of my favorite passions and subjects. And we're talking with Lorinda Strang, who's the executive director of the Orchard Recovery Center. It is a private, for-profit treatment center on Bowen Island. And in the interest of disclosure, I do a little work there once a week, which, to be honest, I love doing. I find the work just immensely rewarding, and it's such a congenial atmosphere, believe it or not. I mean, we're surrounded by crazy people, but they're lovely, crazy people, and it's a lot of fun. You wouldn't think that addictions work could be fun, would you?
It can be really fun.
It has to be.
Yeah.
In a way, it has to be.
Yeah.
Because addictions are a great big banana peel, right? It's like a Charlie Chaplin movie.
Yeah.
It's, if you're not crying, you're laughing.
I think so, and I think that most of the people that come in they all have a really good sense of humor.
Yes,
and we're able to laugh at ourselves and work through our issues, and everyone's honest.
Yeah.
So it makes it a really nice atmosphere to be in, and you realize that you're not alone.
You stay in touch with your people for a long time, don't you?
Oh, yes.
It's not just they're there for 28 days or 42 days?
No.
But what happens?
We have alumni meetings.
Yes.
That are we call them our clients that they go to. We have an alumni meeting every Thursday at the Orchard where they come back and they get roast beef dinner, and then a meeting. So we lure them back with good food because it's important. I always tell them when you come back that next Thursday, your chances of success have just gone up. So staying connected with us and then with other people in recovery. Because when you go to meetings or you stay in touch with other people in recovery, they understand you at a level that sometimes other people don't understand. And you're able to laugh at yourself, and you're able to share the crazy thoughts that are going on inside your head.
Yeah, one of the other things you do is you give tremendous recognition, not just by lip service, but by action, of the crucial involvement of the whole family dynamic in the life of the addict, because you have families over every weekend, yes?
Yes, we have family every Saturday, and then we have an extended family once a week.
Yes.
And
what's all that about? Because I think a lot of people who don't understand addictions or haven't looked at it closely or have avoided it, they think, well, it's Betty's problem, but it's not just Betty's problem. It's everybody else, the spouse, the children, the parents.
The whole family becomes sick, and it's the family members that are living with an active addict. I always say, like, you're not high, hopefully, and so you're living in the real world, and they're living in their delusional world when they're high.
Yes.
And so a lot of the times you're the one up all night worrying. You're the one sometimes enabling and doing things you shouldn't maybe be doing out of love to try and save the person.
Mistakenly helping the addict, thinking you're helping, but you're really helping them get worse.
Yes. It's hard.
Yes.
It's not easy. And so, you know, the families need support, and they need to understand some changes that need to be made. If with a husband and wife, you know, say the husband's in treatment and you're at home, then when he comes home, he's going to be one of these meetings all the time. You know, so we recommend you go to Al-Anon, so you're both going to meetings together. You know,
it's an old 12-step joke, isn't it? I saw you more often when you were drunk.
Exactly.
Now you go to meetings every day.
And then they come home and all of a sudden they want to say in the family where they haven't had a say before. So the dynamic changes.
Yes.
So when we see people come into treatment, sometimes it's the addict themselves that says, I'm done and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Those are the magic words we want to hear.
Yes.
But often it's the family members that say, we're done. We're not going to play this game with you anymore. You have to go to treatment or you're not living at home.
So that's where we come to an intervention, which is what you just mentioned just before we took the break.
Yes.
So interventions have now become the stuff of television. It's this odd curiosity. I guess it sort of fits right in with reality TV. Are the ones that we see on TV really the way things work, pretty much?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. We help people if they don't want to do a formal intervention.
Yes.
You can call the Orchard, and we will help you, and we'll give you some literature. And lots of times families can do it on their own.
Yes.
An interventionist really plays a big role when the family member doesn't have the strength to do it on their own and they need that help. We've had a kid that came up from Seattle, and he walked downstairs. He saw the whole room full of people. He said, I can't say on TV what he said, but he left the room.
Yes.
And it was the strength of the interventionist that helped the family stay strong and put his bag outside the door. Otherwise, they would have caved.
Yeah, yeah.
And eventually the boy came back home, and they said, look, just come to the orchard, stay for 2 days.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're phoning us. We're like, just bring him in.
Yeah.
And if he lets you go, bye-bye. Then it's our job, and our job is to convince him to stay.
Sure.
And so he did. He actually stayed. It was a great story because he ended up staying long enough to be the peer leader in our extended care house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So it was a great story, and he thought, I'm just coming in for 2 days. It's like, just bring him in, and we'll work with him.
That is a great story.
Yeah,
that's marvelous.
Yeah.
And it also proves something that I've said for years, which is that don't tell me about motivation. People used to say, well, your people are strongly motivated, that's why they're successful. I'd laugh and say, no, motivation changes the moment you're surrounded by a new environment.
Yes. Well, you're surrounded by people, that the staff who are motivating you, but also the clients, your peers in treatment. And it's a staggered intake, so there's people at different stages of their recovery, so they're bringing you along.
Yeah.
So, I always say, you're asking somebody who's high or loaded or not in their right mind to make a rational decision. It's pretty hard for them to make a rational decision unless they hit a bottom and they have a moment of clarity. When you do an intervention, it's your job to, break that open for a minute and get them to say, okay.
You've had, if I'm not mistaken, you've had the occasional intervention client.
Yes.
At the orchard.
Yes. Yes.
That's an interesting combination.
Yes, we've just had we just had two, one from Intervention Canada, one from the U.S. show, and they've so far been successful.
Yes.
And it's interesting working with them because as they get sober, clean and sober, then they realize they did that show. It's kind of hard.
Yes.
But on the other hand, if they hadn't done the show, they wouldn't have got the treatment.
Yes.
And their families are in their right mind, and they're willing to put themselves on TV, and they're willing to do this. So,
right. Lorinda, what do you see? I know that you don't just hide out on Bowen Island and do your work. I know that you're urgently involved in your work. You're passionate about it, and I also, by the way, I happen to know that you're wonderful at it.
Thanks.
But I know that you're also involved in the larger community, and you're tied in to so many prevention and treatment resources. What do you see out there that you're liking?
What I like it when people that can't afford to go to treatment can get into treatment.
Yes.
And so I like that the Safe Injection site has a detox above it. That's a move in the right direction. From there, they need access to treatment. It has to keep on flowing, and at the moment, I don't think it is. But
on the other hand, you are seeing places to which it could flow. I mean, there are these other places that you like Turning Point.
Turning Point's fantastic. I was just at their fundraiser. It was excellent, and part of their mandate for that was breaking down the stigma of addiction.
Yes.
Which I believe passionately about, because people need help, and they can get well, and we separate the addiction from the person.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but when the person needs help and they make the phone call, if you phone around today, your chances of getting into a government-funded bed are not very good.
Because there's just not enough of them.
There's not enough of them.
So,
or you have to be detoxed before you go in, or you can't be on any medication, or you have to quit smoking, or there's all these things in play, or you have to do a lot of paperwork. The addict, if they don't have people helping them, is not really able to do that often on their own. They need help. They need help to get there.
Today.
Yes.
Yeah, when they need it.
Yes.
We just have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
So that leads directly then to if you were running the show, if you had control over government policy, whether provincial or national, what would you like to see more? What would you like to do more?
I'd like to do more in the 4 pillars. I think it's broken, and I would like to have a lot more in prevention. Stop this. More education is key for doctors, and also to stop
for doctors.
For
That's
doctors,
interesting.
For the medical community. So
in other words, stop prescribing a bunch of stuff.
An OxyContin is not an Advil
yes.
for pain.
Yes.
I have a big thing with that.
Yeah,
and
then, that's good.
Also, there's not enough detox beds.
Yes.
So there's not enough government-funded availability.
Yes.
So, and then longer term as well. People need long term. A lot of the people that need to go into those programs. Personally, for the orchard, get rid of the HST. I don't think that's fair. I think people that are paying for their health care,
yes,
which is what it is,
should not have to pay
HST. That's my.
And just to make this, and we have 1 minute left, and just to make this very real, I need to talk to you after we stop this taping, because a dear friend has a child who needs detox. So you will advise me, yes?
Youth detox, youth treatment, more of it. We need more of it.
Yeah, but you will
yes,
we'll
absolutely.
Talk after,
yes,
because I know that you know the right answers to these things. Okay, Lorinda, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this,
Thanks.
and thank you for the good work you do all the time. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
And you do it with such aplomb, really, which is nice. You know, Anyway,
thank you very much.
Okay, Lorinda Strang, Executive Director of the Orchard Treatment Center. You can find them. I think we showed their website a number of times. You can find them at orchardrecovery.com. Next week, Adrian Montani will be talking about child poverty. This is a repeat program, but one very worth seeing again, because Adrian has been working on child poverty issues for a great many years. I think it's the BC Coalition, and she knows her stuff. And as you know, we continue in this land of plenty, the best province, the best place in the world, apparently, to have the highest rates of child poverty in the Dominion. Is that right? I don't think so. DavidBerner.com is the site to go to. Thank you so much for being with us here on Shaw Community Television, Cable 4. Good night.